What if I told you motivation is your biggest lie? The world doesn't care how inspired you feel. It only rewards what you do when you're dead tired, uncertain, and no one is clapping for you. Most people chase motivation like addicts searching for the next fix. They wake up hoping for a spark, a perfect podcast, a new video, a morning quote. They want the universe to whisper, "Get up, champion." But the truth is, champions are born in silence. They whisper to themselves when no one else believes. David Goggins became the symbol of relentless self-discipline, not because he waited for motivation to find him, but because he learned to become his own source. You must understand this. The mind is a battlefield, and your greatest opponent lives within your own skull. If you do not command your mind, it will command you, with excuses, with fear, with feelings that come and go like the wind. Discipline is the steel backbone you forge when your emotions want to break you in half. I want you to see this clearly. Motivation is a visitor. It comes and goes. Discipline is your permanent tenant. If you build it right, it lives inside you, rent-free. But how? The first step is brutal honesty. Ask yourself, what are the patterns I keep repeating? Where do I run when life tests me? Some people run to distractions. They scroll for hours, numb their fears with cheap dopamine. Others run into the storm. They stand in the rain of discomfort until the storm stops mattering. The man who becomes his own Goggins doesn't avoid the mirror. He talks to it. He says, "I see you. I see your weaknesses, but I'm not negotiating with you today." In this game, clarity is your secret weapon. If your mind is foggy, your actions will be sloppy. Clarity means you know exactly what your standards are when you're tired, when you're doubting, when you're hurt. You don't get to adjust your standard because the day feels heavy. You don't get to skip the work because your mind says it's too much. That's the power Goggins discovered, and it's the same power you can build. It's not his pain that made him legendary, it's his relationship with that pain. He learned to sit with it, to breathe through it, to smile at the voices telling him to quit. That's discipline beyond motivation, a contract with yourself that no excuse can break. If you truly want to become your own Goggins, start here. Kill the myth that you need to feel good to act. You don't. You need to act until your mind bends to your command. Each rep in the gym, each mile on the road, each promise you keep in the dark rewires your subconscious. It tells your mind, "I am in charge now." And when the day comes that you feel that old weakness whispering, you'll smile, because you'll know you've built something that doesn't rely on hype, on noise, on applause. You've built discipline, and that is the foundation of a mind that cannot be broken. So I ask you, when the next wave of weakness comes, will you wait for motivation, or will you stand up, look yourself in the eye, and become your own Goggins? Your emotions are wild horses. You either learn to ride them, or you get dragged through the mud. Think about the last time you let your feelings decide your day. You woke up tired, the sky looked gray, maybe someone's careless words stung you. And in that moment, without realizing, you handed the keys of your mind to your mood. That's how most people live. Prisoners of a chemical storm, they never learn to command. But here's the unspoken secret. The mind will always produce fear, doubt, anger, jealousy. Those feelings are the mind's way of testing your authority. If you have no plan to master them, they'll master you. David Goggins did not become the hardest man alive because he never felt fear. He felt it more than most. But he understood something simple. You must be able to observe your emotions like a warrior scans the battlefield, not to deny what you feel, but to decide what to do despite it. This is emotional control, the art of acting in alignment with your standards, not your states. That is true discipline, and it terrifies the average mind. You see, the weak mind loves to negotiate. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe just this once. Maybe I'm not ready. It whispers. And the untrained person obeys again and again, creating a cycle of regret that becomes their identity. But you, if you wish to become your own Goggins, must break this pattern. It starts with catching your emotions in real time. When fear shows up, don't run. Pause, breathe, name it, and then take the action you promised yourself anyway. This rewires your subconscious. It builds a quiet voice inside that says, I can be afraid and still move forward. I can feel weak and still show up. This is not a pep talk. This is practical psychology. The subconscious mind records patterns, not intentions. It remembers every time you betray yourself in the dark. But it also remembers when you show up bloody, tired, terrified, and do it anyway. That's how you build a self-image so strong that no wave of emotion can drown you. You no longer need perfect conditions. You create your conditions. Clarity is your blade. In chaos, the undisciplined mind is blind. But when you have clarity about who you want to become, what you demand from yourself, what you will not tolerate, you can stand steady even in the biggest storm. This is why you must write your standards down, speak them out loud, repeat them when you least want to hear them. The mind obeys repetition. The mind bows to consistency. This is how you ride your emotions instead of being dragged behind them. The question is, will you? Because it's easier to drown in the excuses your feelings provide. But there is no legacy in that, no power, no self-respect. The world does not remember the people who felt like it. It remembers the ones who did it anyway. So I ask you, now that you know, will you let your emotions run you, or will you learn to run them? The man who negotiates with himself loses before the battle even starts. If you truly wish to rise above the average, you must destroy the habit of self-negotiation. This is the cancer of discipline, the quiet bargain you make with your weaker self when no one is watching. You say you'll get up at 5, but at 4:59 your mind whispers, 5 more minutes. You promise to run 5 miles, but halfway you hear, 4 is good enough. This is where your character is decided, not in front of others, but in these invisible moments where your mind tests your commitment. David Goggins calls this the accountability mirror, that brutal reflection where you face who you really are, not who you pretend to be. And Napoleon Hill would remind you, you can't cheat the subconscious mind. It records everything. If you want discipline that is unshakable, you must build it one promise at a time, kept without exception. That means you need a system, not just willpower, but a fortress of non-negotiables. Start with the smallest habits. The world is obsessed with massive changes overnight, but discipline is not built through intensity. It is forged through consistency. Small tasks done daily, no matter how you feel. Create a mind that obeys your command. Wake up when you said you would every day. Move your body when your feelings say no. Write your plan the night before and execute it without asking your mood for permission. This is the invisible gym of discipline, the place where you train when the world is asleep. This is why clarity is non-negotiable. If your goals are vague, your discipline will crumble the first time discomfort knocks on your door. Be precise. What will you do? When? For how long? What does success look like today? Leave no room for your emotions to bargain. Your weaker self will search for loopholes, close them all with clear standards, then enforce those standards ruthlessly. This is not about being harsh for the sake of punishment. It is about creating a mind that knows your word is law. And what happens when you slip? Because you will. You're human. The secret is never slip twice. Discipline is not perfection, it is resilience. When you break a promise, acknowledge it, own it fully, and get back on the path immediately. One missed day doesn't ruin you. The story you tell yourself about that miss does. Weak minds justify, strong minds adjust. Understand this, every act of discipline is a deposit into your subconscious mind. Each kept promise builds an identity that says, I do hard things, no matter what. That identity is worth more than any motivation you will ever find. Because when the fire in your belly fades, and it will, the fortress you've built will keep you standing. So, what do you choose? Another day of empty promises? Or will you start today to build the disciplined fortress no storm can tear down? A foggy mind creates a foggy life. Clarity is the blade that cuts through your excuses. Most people live in mental fog. They claim they want to change, but their vision is vague, their standards flexible, and their plans half-formed. They say, I want to get fit, but what does that mean? How much weight? By when? Which habits, done daily, guarantee that result? Clarity is not wishful thinking. It is precise, deliberate, and specific. It forces you to confront your own illusions. Napoleon Hill called clarity of purpose the starting point of all success. David Goggins turned that principle into his daily ritual. He didn't just want to be tougher, he defined what toughness looked like, down to the hour. He created the accountability mirror not for decoration, but as a living testament to his targets. Every morning he faced the truth. Am I moving in line with my purpose, or lying to myself again? Your subconscious mind does not respond to vague wishes. It obeys sharp commands, repeated with conviction. If you want your mind to bend to your will, you must be able to tell it exactly where to go. Vague goals invite loopholes. Clear goals corner your excuses and leave your weaker self no place to hide. Clarity works like a blade. It slices away the unnecessary. When you have true clarity, distractions lose their power. If you decide, I run 5 miles before dawn every day, the temptation to hit snooze becomes irrelevant. Your mind no longer wastes energy debating. The decision is made. All that's left is action. But clarity is not something you stumble upon. It must be crafted. Sit alone with your thoughts. Ask the hard questions. What do I want? Why do I want it? Who must I become to get it? What sacrifices must I make? The mind rebels at these questions because they expose your comfort zones. Good. Expose them anyway. Once you have clarity, you must repeat it until your mind accepts it as law. Write it. Speak it. Visualize it. Your subconscious is a creature of repetition. Each time you reinforce your target, you deepen the groove in your mental pathways. Over time, action becomes automatic. The fog lifts. The excuses lose their teeth. Clarity also protects you from the noise of the world. People will question your obsession. They will tell you to slow down, to be realistic. They will project their own lack of clarity onto you. Ignore them. Most people drift because drifting feels safe, but drifting kills dreams. Stand firm in your vision. Guard it like a soldier guards a castle gate. So remember, your discipline is your fortress, but clarity is the sword you wield when doubt attacks. Wield it daily. Sharpen it relentlessly. A sharp mind cuts through any obstacle. Now ask yourself, are your goals sharp enough to slice through your excuses, or are you still drifting in the fog, hoping for change that will never come? You don't become unstoppable by forcing your conscious mind. You do it by programming your subconscious to obey your highest standard. Most people try to change their life with sheer force of will, fighting every day with their conscious mind, while their subconscious mind, the silent giant, keeps dragging them back to their old patterns. They feel like they take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. Why? Because they never understood the truth. Your subconscious is always stronger than your conscious mind. And if you do not take command of it, it will run you on autopilot, right back to mediocrity. Napoleon Hill was clear about this. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But belief is not built by wishful thinking. It is built through repeated proof. The subconscious does not care about your dreams. It cares about your patterns. If every day you promise to wake up at 5 and stay in bed until 7, your subconscious records that you are not to be trusted. But if you rise at 5 when you hate it most, you teach your subconscious, I keep my word no matter how I feel. David Goggins calls this the calloused mind, a mind so trained through repetition that it no longer waits for permission from your feelings. It simply executes. And that is what you must build if you want to live with discipline beyond motivation. So how do you do it? It starts with brutal consistency. You take one tiny promise. Maybe it's 5 minutes of cold exposure. Maybe it's writing 1 paragraph daily, and you keep it for 30 days without fail. Not most days, but every single day. This is how you teach the silent giant to bow to your standards. Next, you speak to your subconscious like a master to a loyal guard. Use affirmations, not hollow slogans, but powerful commands tied to real action. You say, I am the type of person who does hard things. I am the type of person who controls my mind. Then you prove it daily. Action makes words real. The more your actions match your words, the stronger your mental programming becomes. Visualization is another weapon. When you visualize your goal with clarity and feeling, you give your subconscious a blueprint. Athletes, soldiers, peak performers, they all know this. Goggins visualized the pain before the pain came. He made peace with the suffering before it arrived. That's why when it did, it couldn't break him. And remember, your subconscious does not sleep. Every word you whisper to yourself, every time you give up early, every lie you tolerate, it's all recorded. So guard your self-talk like a fortress. Cut off the seeds of doubt. Feed your mind thoughts that match the life you want, not the life you fear. In the end, you are not fighting your feelings, too. You are reprogramming the factory that makes them. That is how discipline becomes second nature. That is how you do what must be done even when you hate it. So ask yourself now, will you let your subconscious run wild, recycling the same excuses that got you here? Or will you stand up, look the giant in the eye, and bend it to your will? You can have a mind of steel, but if you live in a swamp of distractions, the rust will come. Most people underestimate just how poisonous their environment is to their discipline. They think their willpower alone can save them while they surround themselves with temptations that drain their mental strength every hour of every day. They forget that the mind is always absorbing who you spend time with, what you watch, what you listen to. All of it feeds the machine that controls your actions when no one's watching. Napoleon Hill warned about this over and over. Keep your mind closed tightly against all people who depress or discourage you. David Goggins took it further. He cut off people, habits, and places that weakened him. He knew that you become what you tolerate. You can't run with lions during the day and sleep with sheep at night and expect to become the strongest version of yourself. Look around your life. Where is your energy leaking? Maybe it's the friend who always complains, who plants seeds of doubt about your goals. Maybe it's the endless social media scroll that feeds you highlight reels while starving your discipline. Maybe it's the late-night Netflix binge that steals your morning fire. If you do not guard your environment like a fortress, your mind will be under constant siege. Clarity is not just about your goals. It's about what you will no longer allow. Make a list. Who drains you? What habits do you cling to that make you weak? What patterns do you run back to when you're stressed? Face them directly without excuses. The undisciplined mind justifies its vices. The disciplined mind exposes them to the light. Sometimes the hardest cuts are people. But understand this, your dream is your responsibility. Not everyone will respect it. Not everyone will support it. Many will resent your discipline because it exposes their lack of it. Be ready for that. Goggins didn't become Goggins by asking for permission. He learned to stand alone when necessary, because sometimes that's what greatness demands. You also need to feed your fortress. Surround yourself with words, images, sounds that keep your standards high. Read what makes you sharper. Listen to what makes you unbreakable. Train your senses to crave the hard path, not the easy way out. This is how you build an environment that reinforces your identity instead of sabotaging it. And remember, discipline thrives in order. Clean your physical space. A cluttered room breeds a cluttered mind. A chaotic schedule weakens your resolve. Simplify. Remove what doesn't serve your mission. The fewer choices you leave for your weaker self, the stronger you become. This is not about living like a monk. It's about creating a field where your mind can run freely without stepping into traps every few feet. When your environment supports your discipline, you don't have to fight so hard to stay strong. Your surroundings do half the battle for you. So ask yourself now, will you keep trying to stay disciplined in a swamp of distractions? Or will you rise, sword in hand, and guard your fortress like your future depends on it? Because it does. At the end of the day, the world won't remember what you felt. It will remember what you did when you didn't feel like doing it. When you look in the mirror 5, 10, 20 years from now, what story will your reflection tell? Will it show a man or woman who lived on borrowed motivation, sparks that died in the night? Or will it show a mind forged in discipline, a fortress so strong that storms could not shake you? Napoleon Hill said, "The world steps aside for the man who knows where he is going." And David Goggins proved that principle with every mile, every repetition, every drop of sweat shed in silence. He didn't wait for life to push him forward. He built the standard that life had to respect. This is what you must do now. You must become your own standard. Understand this. The strongest people you admire are not superhuman. They simply decided to master the same battles you avoid. They felt fear, doubt, weakness, but they walked into that storm so many times that the storm no longer scared them. You must choose the same path. You must become so deeply acquainted with discomfort that your mind stops seeing it as a threat. That is the ultimate freedom. The legacy you build will not be measured by trophies or applause. It will be measured by the people who look at you and say, if they could do it, maybe I can too. Discipline doesn't just change you, it radiates. It lifts your family, your circle, sometimes even strangers you'll never meet. Your commitment becomes a quiet permission slip for others to rise. But don't be fooled. This path is not for the fragile ego. It demands that you bury your excuses daily. That you do what needs to be done when your body says no, your mind says no, your emotions scream no, and you do it anyway. The reward is not comfort. The reward is self-respect. And from self-respect comes a power no one can take away. You know now what you need. Clarity so sharp it cuts through your excuses. A subconscious mind programmed to obey you, not betray you. An environment designed to feed your fire, not drown it. The courage to face your emotions head on and bend them to your standard. The daily discipline to keep your promises even in the dark. This is the blueprint. It's not a secret. It's not magic. It's hard, unglamorous, relentless work, done in silence, repeated until it echoes through every cell of your being. When your final day comes, the world won't remember the videos you watched or the speeches you bookmarked for later. It will remember the results you carved with your own hands, the mindset you built, the discipline you modeled, the storm you faced, and walked through without flinching. So ask yourself, once and for all, will you spend your life waiting for the perfect motivation that never comes? Or will you become your own Goggins, a standard so unshakable that no weakness, no fear, no storm can bend your will? The choice is yours. The question is simple. The clock is ticking. Who will you become when the excuses run out?